Yeah, right. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Quick on the injuries. Guys that didn't work today that were new to the list were Maurice French has a knee. Braxton Hoyt has a shoulder. Derek Nottie, I think he was just getting a little rest with that ankle. Asimile has a little shoulder that he got backed off on today. And Armani Watts is ill. And then Garrett Dieter left with a groin. Smith had a hamstring, and Durant has a head injury that's being evaluated, offensive lineman. So we'll go with Coach Bags. Thanks.
All right, good.
Hi, we got everybody, Brad?
We got it. We're ready.
Hey, just for the record, Brad, I do have my face mask right here, but I just took it off.
Good.
Practice. Just real quick, we've had a pretty good stretch here of practices, and the guys have been great. I thought the defensive energy has really hung in there. One day early, it kind of got down a little bit. We talked about it, and the guys responded. So love working with this group, and just love the fact that we're out there working. So with that, I'll open it up.
Let's go to Soren to start it off. Go ahead, Soren.
Coach, the word came down last week about Breland going to miss the 4 games. How do you work that? Like, do you practice for the 4? Do you practice for the 12 after? How do you make that combination work?
Well, I think we got to just we got to attack it for the first game and take one at a time, like we always talk about. And so eventually it's pretty quickly here. It's going to be all Houston Texans, and we'll have to find the person that's going to get in there and replace Breezy. We've had in our back of our minds just in case. So there'll be some guys that hopefully will step up, and we're going to try some combinations of guys too. And I wouldn't be surprised if when it's all said and done, there's more than one person that will fill that role.
Let's go to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Steve. What have you enjoyed seeing so far from L'Jarius Sneed, and what are you trying to specifically work on with Bo Peep when you guys will spend time together on the field?
Yeah, I mean, Bo, I don't really have much on him because he hasn't worked, and it's just been conditioning more than anything else. L'Jarius, listen, he's made some plays for us. I think he's got a long way to go. I really do. Most corners in this league, that's a tough position to step in and play on. But, as a matter of fact, it's funny, Nate, you brought it up. I just leaned over to him in the stretch line at the end of practice here, and I just told him that he needs to do everything faster. And I'm talking about from when the play ends to getting back to the huddle. I mean, these guys know how I am, and part of this whole practice, and Coach Reed wants it the same way. Part of it is conditioning and not having the off season and all that. So I'm trying to, force that into him and then kind of let him play. Sam Madison, Dave Murray doing a great job with him. But there's a big learning curve there, and we got a long way to go.
Let's go to Dave Scretta. Go ahead, Dave.
Hey, Steve. There's been a little bit of a scuttlebutt this morning about the Bills being upset that the Dolphins get to have fans. I know you don't get to decide who gets fans, who doesn't, you don't make those decisions. But just from your perspective, do you think it's an advantage that you guys will have fans, at least some, at your games and maybe some other teams when you go on the road will not?
An interesting question. I'm sure it's being talked about all over the league. But I can tell you this, I only do things from my perspective, stay in my lane, thinking defensively. And all I've really talked to our guys about is the fact that no matter what stadium we play in this year, it's really going to be a home game for the quarterback. So our concerns are that the drawing us offside because they can use their voice. And to be honest with you, that's the only part of all of that I've thought about. How does it affect us, and will there be an advantage or a disadvantage? And I just think that one thing is really important. I mean, one of the big advantages I thought we always had at home here was that the quarterback had to go to silent count, and that gave our D line a little extra juice. But other than that, that's really been the only thing that's kind of crossed my mind.
Let's go to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Steve, how you doing today?
Great, doing great, Adam.
Good. I want to follow up on maybe not having Breland for those first 4 games. Not a lot of experience there other than maybe Ward, who started for you last year, obviously. Hamilton's been in the league but hasn't played on defense a lot. Are you how comfortable are you with that? That looks like the guys you're going to have to play when Bashad is out are largely untested.
Yeah, I mean, no question, Adam. We'd love to have Rashad out there. We're going to have to, two ways to look at it, right? I could say to you that it's just like somebody getting hurt and you got to put the next guy in there. So part of that's true. The advantage we have is we know that, quote unquote, that person's not going to be there. So we have some time to get ready. So I'm glad that we at least know what we're faced with and we can get some guys mentally ready. Again, we'll figure out who that's going to be. We haven't got that figured out now. And we'll try to shuffle things around. My guess is it may not just be one person, but we'll see.
Let's go to Herbie. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Always a pleasure to see you. Hope you're well.
Thanks.
Hey, just two questions here for you. Your thoughts so far on Willie Gay's progression as we're almost ramping up to close out camp? And then finally, I know you like to stay in your lane defensively, but have you had an opportunity to look across the other side of the field and your impression so far of what Jody Fortson has been able to do in camp?
Oh, I notice him because he's so big. I'm always talking to him about playing defensive end. We joke about that all the time. He came up to me the other day and said, I'm ready to play DN. I said, I got to see you tackle first. So I give him a little razz on that. And then I told him that I didn't want him to take that to heart because if we had picked the ball off, I wouldn't want him tackling one of our guys in practice. But listen, he's an impressive, big guy. What was the first part of the question? Was Willie Gay, right?
Yes.
Yeah, asked about Willie. Willie's done a nice job. Look, it's a long way to go at that spot. I like the way, though, Willie has worked with the vets. I mean, he's always talking to them. He's asking Hitch questions and Damian Wilson questions and Ben Neiman, who are all three smart football players. He's engaged. He loves the game of football. That's what I love about him. The rest of it, Matt House and Britt Reed, they'll get that part worked out. But he loves to play. And he's a big physical guy, so we can work with that. Hopefully we can develop him and help us.
Let's go to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Coach. Just to follow up on what Herbie asked about Willie Gay, I mean, he kind of mentioned to us where he's working at least a little bit. Do you try and give a guy one spot to absorb everything there is? But I know he's the guy you feel like you play multiple spots. So at what point do you sort of add the layers on to try and get more of that?
That's a great question. It's something we're always tossing around. The hope is to really initially keep them in one spot. I think that's important when you're that young and learning. And all of them will tell you they can play multiple spots and learn it all. But it takes a lot. Because we haven't had a preseason game. Our offense plays fast and functions fast, but the speed of the game is going to be completely different when we get to the regular season. So we're trying to hone in on one. And yet, when we've had a couple of linebackers dinged up, he has stepped up and played another spot. So he's getting it in bits and pieces. But I think initially here, we'd just like to hone in on one. That would be the way our game plan goes.
Let's go to Robert Ramsey. Go ahead, Robert.
Hey, Coach. So you talked about keeping Willie Gay in one spot initially, right? And he told us he's working a little bit in Sam in the base and then Buck in the Buffalo package. So what about that spot is really good for Willie, and how has he kind of fit into that role?
The Sam or the Buck?
Either or.
Yeah,
or both.
Well, when he talks Sam, he's talking about being one of the three base linebackers, and we'll move those guys around. But listen, the one thing about practicing against our own offense, we don't get in that a lot. So if Houston comes in here, being the first opponent and plays more of their two tight end, two wide receiver offense, we're going to have to be able to step in there and stop their runs. So we need reps at it. We think he's, done some good things as an off linebacker. I think he plays out a little bit better than I thought going in. And then the Buck position, when it is, sub defense and you have a nickel in there, kind of makes him the weak side guy. So he goes from being a strong side linebacker to a weak side linebacker. There's different concepts in both. Listen, I hope that, you hope when you take any guy and he's really skilled that you can get him to play a number of different positions. We do that with all our linebackers. So hopefully we can get it. I'd like not for that to happen. We got other guys that can play one or two of those positions and give Willie the chance to kind of develop. I think Coach Kolb likes him on special teams, so hopefully like normal looking, so he can progress down there.
We've got time for a couple more guys. Let's go Pete and then Steve to finish it out. Go ahead, Pete.
Good morning, Steve. I have two names for you, Tim Ward and Darius Harris. These are guys that you guys kept around all of last year, and now you're finally getting to see them. I was wondering with each guy, maybe what tells you whether they can contribute or maybe they're a little bit further off, as you go here.
Yeah, a little bit up and down. It's been, a whole year off. No preseason games. I'm glad you brought both those guys were great last year when they were in the meetings, and two guys, good guys, character guys. But there's so much unknown on that. There's not really much more I can add except to say we'll just keep working. Really, that's what we got to do.
Let's go to Steve to close it out. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Right.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about it, but with the strength of the offense being passed, have you and EB or Andy talked about making sure the offense is doing a certain percentage of run and pass to help the defense get ready for week one? Or does that kind of come in more of a week-to-week game plan?
Yeah, we in no way want to affect what the offense is trying to do. They do the same for us. They let us run our defense. So it works out the way it works out. We do, as a defense, spend a lot of time when we get our own periods. We call them run-fit periods. Spend a lot of time on that. When we get practices where coach allows us to have a scout team out there, we try to emphasize the run. But, we're getting our work done there. And I told the guys the other day that, listen, there's no excuses. Whether our offense against runs, any runs or no runs, when it's ready to kick it off on September 10th, we got to be ready to play the run and pass. So that's the challenge that I keep throwing at our guys. You're a LeBron James fan?
It's Kobe Day. Kobe Day.
I couldn't see the 20 Lakers. I get it now. I got it.
Coach, we appreciate the time today. Thank you.
You got it. All right. Have a good day.
All right, guys, hang tight, and we've got Chris Jones coming up next. Start with Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Good morning, Chris. Now that you guys have been practicing for a few weeks here, I was wondering what you think in the defense this year and what has maybe shown you that it can be even better than last year.
Day in, day out, man. Competing with one of the best offenses in the league. When we're able to go on that field and compete with those guys, the sky's the limit for us. With all the weapons they have and the dynamic offense that they're able to score at any time in the game. So competing with those guys are elevating us as a defense.
Let's go to Soren Petra. Go ahead, Soren.
Chris, Coach Spags was just talking about, working against your offense. Obviously, a lot of throwing the ball, right? How do you get ready to play the run? When your team doesn't really hunker down, if you're going to play at Tennessee, if you're going to play something like that, what's the process you guys go through to be ready for a team that might just come and try to run right at you?
Well, we have a lot of drills that's designed for the run, and our coach Brandon Daly does a very good job on getting us run fits. And Coach Reed implement 9-on-7, which is a run fit period, and throughout practice we work on run fits.
Let's go to Robert Rimson. Go ahead, Robert.
Hey, Chris. Happy Kobe Day, by the way. So you mentioned. Not mentioned, but you tweeted out that you like the fact that the Chiefs were bringing in fans this year. Do you feel like you guys have an advantage with some other team not having fans in the stadiums this year?
Yeah, of course we do, man. Kansas City, we have some of the best fans in the world. I mean, it was nice to see them out there the other day. We were able to go on the field and have those out there and have their attendance. And we look forward to having them during the season, man. That's a huge part of Kansas City. It's a huge part of who we are. And I'm thankful that we can have them.
I think Soren had a follow-up. Let's go back to Soren real quick. Go ahead, Soren.
Just on that front, you talked about the different things that you do, the different run fits and everything. Is there a mindset to play and run defense, right? And is that something that's hard to get? Like, I know this training camp's been unique for everybody involved, right? The ramp up period and everything. But if you don't play that kind of physical style, is it hard to get yourself up for it? Does it take a little time when you find yourself in a game like that to kind of ramp yourself up into that kind of one-on-one style?
I mean, they make it clear on this defense. I mean, Spag set the standard on this defense. The first thing we rely on is stopping the run and forcing them in passing situations. And it's a huge part of who we are and what we're trying to establish here as a defense. And that's mainly stopping the run and third down, let it loose.
Let's go to Herbie. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Chris, I'm curious on how you approach the offseason. How much time do you spend breaking down tape of yourself as part of a self-evaluation process to see how you can better some of your moves and maybe even looking at some of the offensive linemen to go against to give you that edge?
I mean, this offseason was a little different, man. I had a surplus of time to do a lot of things that I normally don't get to do, and watching film was one of those. I had so much time that I just sat around the house and just watched film and trained every day in and day out. And I was fortunate enough to have the team iPad and was able to watch film a lot and catch up on some things that mainly I wouldn't be able to see through OTAs or training camp. And I'm very fortunate of the off time that we had.
Go ahead, Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Chris, we've talked about Willie Gay and what he can do for the defense. I'm just wondering, from your vantage point on the practice field or maybe watching film of practice, just what you've seen from Willie that gives you confidence that he can maybe help you guys out early this season.
I mean, he's a special kid. You just got to keep it up. Just keep it up. Keep competing day in and day out, and keep striving. He's young. He's a Mississippi State Bulldog, which I love. But he just got to keep at it.
Let's go to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Chris. I had remembered the season before that you ended up exploding for 15.5 sacks. You expressed that you wanted to lead the league in sacks, and I know that you haven't been afraid this year to say, okay, the goal is Defensive Player of the Year. I'm just curious, in your own words, why you feel that you're capable of being the top defensive player in the league.
Well, that's something I've always done throughout my career, set my standards high as a player and try to incorporate it with my team. If I'm the best defensive player in the league, then I'm obviously doing well for my team and helping my team be one of the best defenses in the league. And that's my main goal throughout year in and year out, is to exert myself to be the best. And, that's just one of my goals right now, to be the best as I can be or be the best defensive player in this league.
Got time for two more. Let's go Sam and then Steve. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Chris. Kind of an offbeat question, but the Super Bowl logo that's actually up at the practice facility, I'm wondering if you made a special point to pay attention to that, and if you think about what it's going to be like to see some other sort of mementos from the Super Bowl, such as getting your ring and seeing the banner dropped as well.
That's special, man. It took 50 years to get it, man. 50 years, and when you look at it, it makes you want to reach that goal again. When you see that you was able to accomplish that and all the hard work you put in last year, it makes you want to do it even again this year. You got that hunger even more. So for me, it's a little bit of motivation for me. It makes me want to reach that goal again.
Let's go to Steve for the last one. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Chris, going up against Pat every day and his ability to extend plays and the defense having to keep going and make it extended. So talking about how does that help you from a conditioning standpoint? And secondly, there has been some talk about D linemen and O linemen across the league wearing the special face mask for COVID. Have you seen that and heard about that? And is that something that you're open to?
Yeah. To hit your point on the face mask, I mean, whatever we incorporate that here to help and protect the players from COVID, I'm all for it. Safety is first, and who is fortunate enough to make protocols to play this game. So whatever they incorporate for us to wear it, then I'm all for it. And not just only Pat, man. You got those guys on offense. You got a lot of dynamic guys. You got Travis Kelce, Clyde. You got Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman. Just going against that offense day in and day out. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. You gotta mentally and physically prepare you to be ready for Thursday night. It gets you in shape because Andy Reid runs one of the hardest training camps in the league, and it's up tempo. So it forces you to get in shape and forces you to compete.
Appreciate it.
Chris, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right, guys, hang tight. We got Dan Sorensen coming up next.
this ramp up period plus training camp, we're really dialed in on defense, and the coaches know the personnel. We know the scheme, and it's that'll be good for us.
Like, we got one more question. Let's go to Herbie to close it out. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Dan, you mentioned Matthew's intensity and you mentioned Fortson's athleticism. Yesterday at practice during one-on-ones, Jody had that one-handed leap and grab over Matthew, and Matthew even tweeted about it that he was impressed. But how impressed were you with that play?
That's a good play. It's just fun to watch those guys go out and battle. It's fun to compete against the players on our team. There's talent across the board, and so it's incredible work that we get to have when we go out against our offense to compete against these guys, these wide receivers, tight ends, Travis Kelce, and so it's awesome. We just go out there and we compete. You win, you lose, you battle, you come back, and it's all about getting better on both sides.
Dan, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, guys, we've got Jody coming up next. Okay, Jody, we're ready for you. Can you hear us? Good. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, let's get started. We're going to start with Herbie with the star. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Jody, good to see you.
Good to see you, Herbie.
Hey, I remember we chatted a bit in Miami at the Super Bowl, and I remember you telling me that you were motivated to make the 53. How did you attack this offseason? How did you train to set yourself up for some of these catches that you're making out there at camp, and with the view to make the 53?
To be honest with you, the only thing I did was I just took the advice of all the great vets that we have on the team, from Sammy to Miko and D-Rob, even Chris Jones and Tyron on the defensive side. I just took everything that they gave me throughout the last season and try to implement it into this offseason protocol for myself. And I just come out every day and just ready to attack and just get better.
Let's go to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Jody, just a couple of years ago, really, that you were down at Erie Community College and then going through Division II to getting to the Super Bowl. What kind of experience has that been, the whirlwind of your life the last few years?
Man, it's been an emotional roller coaster, I'll tell you that. But, I mean, it's definitely been well worth the journey. I wouldn't trade anything I've been through right now to be where I am. Like, I'm definitely grateful for it all. It's been a journey.
Let's go to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Jody, I know it's been previously documented that you try to model your game off of Randy Moss, and I was curious why Randy, and what do you see in his game that maybe you've been able to implement into your own?
Randy's just an athletic freak. I feel like he can out jump anyone. He could just run past anyone. I might not be able to run past everybody, but I feel like any ball that's in the air, I feel like I have a great chance of coming down with it. Randy just did a lot of things different from everybody else. Like, he kind of played his own way. You know what I'm saying? He's just a freak. And I want to be able to implement that into my game.
Let's go to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Jody, good to see you, man. With understanding what you learned last year on the team, was there anything that you wanted to try to change in your off-season training before getting to training camp? And then secondly, because of your skill set, because of your ability to leap for the ball, do you feel like Andy Reid has certain plays designed for you based on him knowing who you are over the last 2 years?
First, I feel like Andy Reid is an incredible coach. I feel like he can scheme up plays for anybody. He can make something shake for literally anybody. I feel like he's that great of a coach. I feel like one thing that I wanted to work on as far as like outside of my athletic ability is just trying to learn everything, everybody's position, everything. I'm still learning. Like, I'm real fresh into this game. So yeah, I just trying to learn as much as I can.
Let's go to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Jody. To kind of follow up on what Nate said, he mentioned just the fact that you're still learning, but going from D2 to the NFL is obviously a pretty big jump. Do you feel like how much more prepared do you feel like you are for year two based on what you saw even on scout team last year?
I feel more prepared. Just I'm in a system, another year in the same system with the same coaches, getting more detailed into the playbook, into the routes, and then learning how to maneuver with the players around me. So I definitely feel more comfortable. But, there's still a lot to be learned, and I'm still working.
Looks like we've got 4 more left to start with Robert and work our way down. Go ahead, Robert.
Hey, Jody. So Tyrann Mathieu tweeted about that moment you guys had at camp yesterday with your one-handed grab. Just kind of talk about that play and then how big of a deal it is to get a guy like Tyrann Mathieu to kind of sing your praises in public like that. It's really a blessing. A lot of people don't really know this, but in high school, I actually wore number 7 because of Tyrann. He's actually been like the best defensive player I've ever seen, to be honest with you. Tyrann, he's a great leader on and off the field. And every practice or before practice, we're in the locker room, I'm trying to get advice on how to be better. For him to, kind of give me a shout out on Twitter to the world, I don't even know how to describe it. It's extraordinary. And I appreciate you, Tyrann, if you're watching this. But yeah, it's a blessing. I'm just excited.
Let's go to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, last year during the draft process, it seemed like there were some teams that were thinking of your body type being more translated to tight end. How much, wanting to play wide receiver and the Chiefs seeing you that way brought you to Kansas City? And, do you see why, maybe some teams thought you that way?
I could see why people would think I'm a tight end. I think I'm a tight end. I'm pretty big. I feel like I'm an athlete. I feel like there's not really anything that I can't do. I feel like I'm gonna be put in a position to win. So I understand, people want to put me in this tight end box or trying to claim me to be a receiver. I'm an athlete. Just put me somewhere. I'm gonna make it shake.
Let's go to Nate Taylor to close us out. Go ahead, Nate.
Jody, one other thing I wanted to ask you was how much the 4th preseason game ultimately made the decision for the team to keep you here. Just what do you remember most about that game? Obviously, you played well, and just the idea of not having preseason games this year to kind of show your improvements. Just the confusing nature about both last year and this year.
I feel like the last preseason game, it kind of allowed me to play freely. I made a play on special teams where I caused a forced fumble down on kickoff. I feel like that was a big play to show that I can contribute to the special teams side of the game. I made a play down the sideline. I was able to jump over the defender and make a great catch. I should have kept my balance and made some more happen, but that's not here or there. But as far as the preseason games not happening this year, it kind of sucks. Like we're not able to show the improvement and our gifts, essentially. So we just have to constantly put it out here on the practice field for our coaches to see and go from there.
Jody, we appreciate you joining us today. Thank you, man.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right, guys. 1 sec. Hang on with me. I got something I want to run by you here. I just got to send Jody off here. 1 sec.